Good morning. Welcome to our topic today, which is talking about some lessons learned in ERP implementations. My name is Russ McClendon, and I am a managing director at Altruis. I've been in the ERP implementation business since the late 90s, so over 23 plus years doing this. So I've been around a time or two and have probably not seen it all, but I have seen a lot. I am also a former CPA, or recovering accountant, if you will. And so just here to kind of talk about some of the things I've seen. And then I would also like to introduce Jeff Atkins here as one of our top consultants. Jeff has kind of been on the opposite side. He's come up through industry and has been a CFO, controller, worked with multiple ERP systems, and has been on the receiving side of the ERP implementations. So we're both going to share some stories that we've learned maybe from different perspectives, but I think it'll be helpful for anybody considering an ERP implementation. Jeff, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely, thanks. Yeah, as Russ noted, most of my experience has been really on the industry side, or working really kind of in much the same roles as much of you. I have over or approximately 20 years of experience as a controller or CFO. I am a CPA. I also have my MBA. As Russ mentioned, I've been responsible for implementations in approximately 8 organizations using 6 different systems in various industries, including retail, both brick and mortar and e-commerce, professional services, a little bit of light manufacturing, and some property management. You know, some of the things to consider and be mindful of working with your team, kind of building out that full wish list, making sure you understand what each team member is really kind of needs, how they can help set up for, what can you identify for your improvements that you can relay back to your consultant to say, here's where the areas that.
One thing that you've probably seen through your experience is the failure to plan for add-ons early in the process. Even if there are third-party applications that integrate with your ERP, there can be a lot of important add-ons that you can take advantage of that make your whole process more efficient, or check some of those boxes for the have-to-haves. Can you talk about that just a little bit?
Throughout a lot of my career and the implementations, unfortunately, as I mentioned, I think a lot of these opportunities have really shown up within the past 5 to 10 years. At various points within my history, seen multiple opportunities where this would have been a huge saver. Things that we talked about, unfortunately, never really kind of pursued. We way back when had an opportunity, working off of an e-commerce application that we were really posting a lot of our data in summary directly off of reports, and this created a lot of headaches with regards to reconciliations. We spent a great deal of time working with our kind of the data management and the e-commerce team with regards to their reporting sales at one level, the accounting side and the financial reports are reporting information at potentially a different level. So because they're not directly integrated, we had to spend a great deal of time trying to reconcile the reports to justify and qualify the different numbers that we're seeing. At the same time, because we're reporting them, in summary level, your reporting is really only as good as the depth and the level of detail that you're capturing. So if we had to, a spike in sales for a particular day, we didn't have the bandwidth to be able to drill into to see what were the details that drove that. We had to then rely on the other third-party application. Similarly, even most recently, we were in the airline industry. It was working with. We had inventory and parts that were being captured outside of the system. It was a system that was specific to the airline industry, a maintenance tracking platform that we were in the process of trying to discuss. How can we integrate this with our ERP system, both to capture and track and value our inventory, which could be extremely high. There's obviously unique scenarios there when you're dealing with parts that are cost upwards of several $100,000. Some of those were on consignment that we didn't actually own. And then to be able to manage all the nuances of what is owned inventory that's going to show up on the balance sheet versus inventory that we're responsible for, and then being able to have visibility and all that, that was an opportunity that really would have been ideal to help speed up our close with regards to the balance sheet and some of that activity that we were never able to take advantage of. And similarly, it brought up questions when we're going through our balance sheet review to say, what is our inventory balance? What are our expenses? Did we have expenses or invoices that were expensed that really should have been a function of our inventory asset? So it created a lot of additional work and time on our month-end close that is obviously critical when you're trying to get things out as quickly as possible, when you're trying to manage the quality of your data, the quality of your balance sheet and your supporting schedules to help really save and you know, going through when you're kind of going through those reviews, any hiccup, any misstatement is really going to throw all your other numbers in question. So having that data synced and having some sort of application that incorporated those into our ERP system really would have had a lot of opportunities to both save time on close, save time throughout the month in data reporting, data management, data entry, and then lastly, and perhaps most importantly, helps increase the quality of our data and the trust that other departments and senior executives have in our financial reports and our data. And at the time, again, this was farther in the past when the integrations weren't as common. They would have been much more customized. I think now, I think this would have been an easy task to try and implement with minimal cost, and would have created just obvious return on investment, and you know, would have been a much more simple implementation. Certainly, if you're trying to incorporate it in with your actual ERP implementation itself, it certainly is an opportunity, and certainly would have been a need to try and ask those questions and to identify some of those opportunities up front and address them with our consultants. So yeah, Russ, I mean, I'm sure you have a lot of experience. Maybe you can kind of elaborate on what you've seen as far as some of the benefits that customers have really had opportunities, identified some third-party applications, and then perhaps even what you've seen as far as changing in that space within, you know, the past couple of years that perhaps other CFOs, controllers that have been through implementations of the past may not be aware of the opportunities that are out there.
Right. Yeah. Good question. I think the one that comes to mind in that when it's kind of turning around just a little bit, we were talking to the accounting department about, and this was for a small not-for-profit, talking to the accounting department about replacing their current ERP system, and they didn't tell us, and maybe we didn't ask, you know, what are you doing for payroll? Well, their HR department was separately negotiating for a new payroll system, and had they been considering that, you know, add-on of payroll in the accounting department, they would have been able to integrate them a little easier than we ultimately were able to in the end. You know, it's an add-on, but it's also, you know, another department, you know, not being included in the whole picture. One of the important things I see, there's some real easy slam dunks, if you will, add-ons, and that's AP automation and expense reporting automation. You know, those are big time takers as far as your accounting department goes, with little, you know, outside benefit other than getting your vendors and your employees paid. But if you can automate things like that, those are huge savers for your team. And you know, so those are two that we try to include in almost every implementation. because they make so much sense and they're an easy win for the accounting team. Jeff talked a little bit about add-ons or third parties. It's important also to know that whether you're selecting a suite type ERP like NetSuite or GP or Business Central, it's important to know that just because they have modules built in that will do something doesn't mean it's the best application of that function. So even though the suite may include a function for expense reporting or AP automation, be sure and take a look at some of the third parties that may do it more efficiently, or have better security or better configuration options that streamline your functionality even more. These applications, such as AP and expense reporting, they're not very expensive add-ons, and they make a world of difference in efficiency. All right, well, Jeff, thank you. This has been a great conversation, and hopefully this is helpful to those who are planning an implementation or ERP selection process. And again, hope this is helpful information for you.
Absolutely, yeah. Certainly, hopefully they can kind of pull from all of our years of experience.